This episode is brought to you by our friends at Hover, the easiest way to buy domain names and do more with them. Get 10% off today by visiting hover.com/MrMobile.
Hi, I'm Jay Goldman, and you are watching Mr. Mobile on Butterscotch.com. Today, a look at an iPhone application called Insight, which is a Basecamp client for iPhone. Now, if you're not familiar with Basecamp, it's a web-based project management tool from 37 Signals. You can see it at basecamphq.com. Check the show notes on Butterscotch for a link to that. And it's a great application if you're managing a team and are working on a project and you want to keep everybody in the same page. So it does messages, you can post files, it tracks to-dos and milestones and all that kind of thing. We're not going to review Basecamp itself. Go check it out if you want to take a look. But we are going to take a look at Insight, which is a client for Basecamp that works on your iPhone. Now, you can access Basecamp using the browser on your phone, and it does a reasonably good job, but nothing like a native application. And so Insight allows you to access your project directly on your phone and gives you access to all of the information that's posted in that Basecamp account. From here, you can post new messages and all that kind of thing. You will need API access turned on in your Basecamp account in order to use this. So if you go to your Basecamp account and go to the dashboard view and then look for the account information, you'll find on that first page there, if you scroll down, there's an API section which will be turned off by default. Just check the box and save the changes, and that will enable API access for you. If you're not the admin on your account, you won't have that page, so make sure to find your admin of your account before you need to go in and do this so that they can switch it on. This application Insight will work whether you use an OpenID or 37 Signals ID to sign in, or if you use a username. If you use the Basecamp 37 Signals ID or an OpenID, you'll need an API token in order to use this. That sounds a lot more complicated than it is. The API token actually just appears in your Basecamp account. If you go to My Info and look on that page, you'll find an API token. The only tricky thing is that it's a long string of letters and numbers, and you need to enter it into here. I don't recommend trying to type it in. It's a little bit frustrating. But what you can do is actually just email that to yourself, open up that message on your iPhone, select the text in there and copy it, and then switch over to the Insight application and paste it in as the API token. Once you're all set up, you'll have an account running here. You can jump into it and use it. Good news about this, which is actually very, very handy if you're a Basecamp addict like I am, this supports multiple accounts. So you can actually add multiple Basecamps here and then switch back and forth between them so you can check out different projects if you're working with different people, for example. So we've set up a Mr. Mobile Basecamp account here. It's got limited information in it because we're just using it to show you guys how this all works. But you can imagine that normally the screen would be full of all of the Insight or all of the Basecamp information that's in there. This acts as your dashboard for the account, and you'll see that down the left side there are different icons that represent different types of things that are on Basecamp. So we've got messages, to-do items, we've got milestones and all that kind of thing. The one thing I would say, actually it's one of my criticisms of this application, I actually find it quite hard to remember what each of those letters stands for. I think it would be more useful if those were actual icons that represented a milestone, like maybe a calendar item, or to do with a checkbox, or a file icon. So I would say, maybe something to consider for the next version is switching to using actual icons there. But all the same, we kind of get dashboard view here, and this is on the recent tab item at the bottom. And I can tap on any one of those and jump into getting some details for it. It goes and actually uses the Basecamp API to fetch details for that, and then it'll come back and show it to me. I can make comments on it the same way that I can on Basecamp, and I can do that for any one of the things here. So project view will give you sort of the milestone view of what's coming up in the project. To do will show you the different types of to-dos that are available in things that have been added. You can also see some of them have been completed, so you'll note that the second item in this list has actually got a strike through it because we've actually completed that. And you can create new items from the fly. So you can just go in and add those. Everybody else in the Basecamp account will see them. You can add new messages. You can comment back on them and all that kind of thing. Basecamp has recently added the ability to actually reply to their emails in order to comment on items. And you can actually now send an email directly into your Basecamp account. Everybody gets a unique address. You can find it in Basecamp on the My Info page. And so that takes away a little bit of the usefulness for this. This was a lot more useful when you couldn't do those two things. So you would get notifications that somebody had commented in your Basecamp account, but you couldn't really do anything from it, about it from your mobile device. So a little bit less useful than it was, but I still find that the ability to reply by email isn't the same as viewing the whole thread, checking out the to-do items, going back and forth between the milestones, and being able to view all of that information in one place. So if you're a heavy Basecamp user, I highly, highly recommend this. It's been very valuable to me. It's $9.99 in the App Store. A little bit on the expensive side for an iPhone app, but I think you'll find that the productivity you gain from having access to your Basecamp on the road is well worth the price tag. By the way, if you're looking for your own domain name, our friends at Hover would like you to know that the easiest way to register your own domain and do more with it is to visit hover.com, and you will get 10% off your purchase using the code that you can see on screen or in the show notes, courtesy of Mr. Mobile. I'm Jay Goldman. This has been Mr. Mobile on butterscotch.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Hover, the easiest way to buy domain names and do more with them. Get 10% off today by visiting hover.com/MrMobile.